All good?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to have you guys do is do this. Always get a piece of scrap paper out. You have a ruler in case we need to use it. You should be able to use a ruler or even a straight edge, depending on your situation. So, like I said before, I don't know where you guys are at with data tables, but I'm going to give you some of the general rules, and I know where people make the mistakes, and I'll show you basically how to like what the tricks are for it. Okay. Okay. So what I would like you to do is I took the same information, the same data, and I cut it down because it was getting redundant with the graphing stuff. And data tables aren't quite as intensive with these, so I kind of cut some of it down, but I also used some of the same data, but I tweaked some of it. So if it gets a little redundant, bear with me. A, B, I just want to make sure that we've covered everything, and I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. So the two things that people have problems with data tables are this. It's basically the construction, like where to put what. That's the one thing. Fidel, you ready? Okay. The other thing is this. This is proven. So when they give you tests, one of the things that they have problems with is, you guys, you remember how you look at a graph and you got positive, Neil, over here, please.
I'm just gonna, don't worry about me.
Yeah, don't worry about him.
I'm
Watch.
a loser.
Positive correlation, negative, and neutral, correct? Okay, you can see a graph and you're no problem with that. Thing is, they've shown you, like on tests, they like break down tests and look at data, like who scored what and what they got. They say like 97% of you guys can tell me the correlation of the data on a graph. Given a graph, you can always do it. However, given the same information in a data table form, only 60% of you guys can do it. And it's like, to me, it seems easier on a data table. It's the easier, like I don't understand what the problem is. So I want to make sure that we are able to touch on those things. Also, you've got to be able to construct your other things. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Just read from part 1 down to this middle part to yourself so you understand what we're doing. Okay, we good? Okay, here's what I want you to do. Take out that scrap paper that you have. I'll show you how you should start off every graph, okay? How you start off every graph. First off, what's the shape of a, data table. What's the shape of every data table? Do that fast. We were making a rough draft. You don't have to make it big, you can make it small, whatever you want. Here's what everybody's problem is they start off, you guys remember doing this in weeks? The rulers, then you mess up 9 times, all that stuff. Make a freaking rough draft and it will save you so much time, okay? So there's 2 things to it. I'm gonna label this, okay? You're gonna have a top part. This is called your header. I want to make one more here. These up and down rows are called columns. And then one more thing. Each one of the boxes that we're going to create from this is called a cell. Okay? Just like a jail cell. So headers go on the top because it's on the head. Columns go up and down like a column on a building. And then cells are like a room or a cell that you're going to have your information in, okay? So I'm going to leave it like this, but I'm going to show you one thing. So I'm going to go, you stay with where you're at. I'm going to flip this over, okay? Every single data table has a header on the side, header on top and a column on the side. So here's what I do for every single data table. Once I start making it, I go boom, boom, boom. I go like that, and I go like that. There's my rough draft. That's what I start out with, okay? So generally speaking, this is what you want to do, okay? This is our column here. We're going to put the independent variable information in there. And we're going to do this, to left. Independent variable always, I can't think of a situation where you would not have it on the left. And I'll tell you why in a minute. When you read a book, you read from left to right, right? When you're reading a book, you're seeing how the book starts and how the story ends, correct? When you start with an independent variable, that's what you're changing. Oh, Caitlin, go to the nurse. Kim's office. She's coming. She forgot. I put her in charge of remembering. You know these kids are. Yeah, the other. You're starting off with an independent variable, and that's the one thing you're kind of in control of and you're tweaking. What you're doing is trying to see what effect it has on the dependent variable. Okay? So then we'll put dependent variable over here. Now, I'll show you one other thing. Typically, this is what I see. So don't do this, don't do this. This is typically what I see. I'll have the kid do this, they'll do this, and they'll do this. And then they start listing their independent variable up here, and then their dependent variable this way, okay? Don't do that. Think of it like a book. We're gonna start this way, and we're gonna go this way, all right? So, let's go back to our front page. We kind of have our notes here, right? Kind of have our notes here. And then you still have a blank side of your paper, or you have a place where you can put it, right? So we have background. Students completed an investigation. They're comparing the amount of nitrogen and the number of tomatoes, right? So I did the same thing I did before. Amount of nitrogen, is that going to be your independent or your dependent variable? Which one are you controlling that, or is that going to be affected? Controlling it. So is it independent or dependent? So let's circle independent variable. So which column is that going? Left or right? Left. Okay? So amount of tomatoes we know is our dependent variable. We're going to be shoving that to the right. Now, what I did for you on this one is I had you guys go ahead and I kind of built the cells for you, but I also wanted, hey, how are you doing? But I wanted you also to know that the practice that you go through is build it first, set it up, okay? So I'm going to walk through you like this, okay? So we're going to make our box. We're going to put our column, we're going to put our header on there, okay? Now watch, this is how you break it down like normally. We know what our independent variable is. We got nitrogen, right? Yeah? Now here's the thing, you got to spell it out completely. But how many changes do we have in the nitrogen? How many numbers do we have?
4.
We got 4, okay? So if this is our header, this is our title, we need 4 more below it, so we're going to put 1, 2, 3, and then that 4th one, right? Now, here's the only other one you want to make sure you do. These spaces right here, between here and here, and here and here, and so forth, need to be even. The only one that doesn't have to be even is this one right here, the top header. We okay with that? We're going to fill this one in together, okay? So if you want to follow along any way you want, that's fine. I'm showing you what I always do. I never start off with a page. Weeks people, it's a colossal waste of time to start trying to do it without a rough draft, correct? It's going to be a nightmare, okay? So we have one dependent variable, correct? How many numbers do we have with the dependent variable? 4. So I'm going to make one more column. I know it's tomatoes, or amount of tomatoes. I'm just going to keep it rough. And I know what my units are. So I'm going to put my 4 numbers in there, and I have enough space for those. Numbers typically don't need as much, but you want to center them, okay? Now, do I need any more space in this data table? Do I need to add any more information to the data table? This is what I do. Scratch it out. I don't need it. This will be my data table. The only thing I'm missing is title. Yes, no? So now we got a plan. So let's execute our plan. Let's go to our data table. I am going to use a pen so I can write in this, so I can squeeze it in a little bit more. Notice how I gave you more room on that header so that you can write it in there. You need to write the full thing. So follow along. Okay. So we know that the independent variable is the amount of nitrogen given, so I'm going to write amount of nitrogen given. I'm going to try and center it, make it nice. I'm going to add my units in too. You have to have your units. Our other header is going to be amount of tomatoes produced. And that little hashtag symbol, numbers. When you're done, put your pencil down. So now we know this. Watch. Everything in this column belongs to this top header. Everything in this column belongs to this top header. So once we have the units in there, we don't have to add them in anymore, okay? Now, just make sure you correlate them out. 0.0 created how many tomatoes? 7. 0.1 created 13. 0.2 created 21. And then 0.3, trying to center it, created 25. Could I make the handwriting neater? Yes, I could. And it's a presentation aspect. Weeks would go out of his mind if he saw us right now. Yes, no? Okay. We are missing the title. So just like we put a title in the graph, let's add the title for this one, okay? So we'll put how nitrogen affects tomato growth. Do we have all the elements here? Yes, we do. Do you have, is it all, there's one other thing that's not hugely important, but they do teach us, and it's called an ascending or descending order, meaning this. You either want to be increasing the value starting from the top or decreasing the value starting from the top, okay? Terminology, that's not really that important, but you want to have some sort of order. It's a presentation tool, okay? So, when we increased the independent variable, what happened to the dependent variable? Okay, so we have positive or negative correlation. Positive correlation. So what's our relationship? What's our relationship? This is not your first rodeo. Let's do this. There you go. And the amount of, and remember, this is conclusion aspects, so you need to make sure it's clear. When the amount of nitrogen in kilograms increases, I know it's a little redundant, the amount of tomatoes produced in numbers increases. So I've worked myself out of being able to put my title on this one with my sample, but it'll be alright, okay? So let's do this. How many of you guys are totally okay with this right now? How many of you guys are like, I can probably get to this, no problem. Be a little bit of work. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Start hitting each, go through the other ones, work with your partner. I don't know how long it's going to take. What I would like to do is split this up a little bit, but I want to show you something. Go to the next page. So this is one of those teacher things where you're like, let's try it at this level. Let's try and increase the difficulty a little bit. Let's try and increase the difficulty a little bit. Let's try and decrease a little bit. My struggle is this. Weeks people, what did you have to have your data table on? Not plain piece of paper, and it had to be totally centered, correct? It had to be perfect, correct? That takes a little bit of time, right? Will this save you some time? Okay, I've already have it centered for you and have it in there. You just need to fill in your cells, okay? So make sure you measure it. Don't go crazy with it, but I'd like it to be as even as possible and neat as possible because you do have to do some final presentation ones eventually, and I will judge you at the same level that Weeks would. But I'm not going to like, it has to be on clean piece of paper and everything. I want it organized though, okay? So go through each one of these, work with your partner, and I have tweaked. Don't go so autopilot that you think it's the same exact stuff. I tweak stuff, okay? Now let's go to the next page. We're going to start getting a little harder. But you guys that have done this before have seen this type of stuff, okay? We have something called a supercell that goes above some of the other ones, and I've got this set up so you just have to backfill it, okay? After that, it's going to be expected that you build it on your own, okay? Make sense? Okay, start plugging away with this. I need you back in the last 5 minutes, so we got about 15 minutes to we got about 15 minutes to work. Have us check. We do have some keys, okay, if you want to check it.
Mr. Draco, do you want me to stop it?
Yes, thank you.